Not done that.
Very
Welcome everyone to the June 26, 2023 regular school board meeting. Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Grant?
Present.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Present.
Mr. Carpenter?
present.
Mr. Leeds?
Here.
And Mr. Fulham?
Here. Would everyone please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
And our color guard.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nice work, Jesse.
Jesse's on the ball.
Does anybody not need to?
I do not.
No, I do not. Item 1.3, any additions or deletions to the agenda?
None.
Thank you. Item 1.4, approve the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Are
Second.
we all asleep today or what? Thank you, Mr. Leeds.
I think AJ's in protest right now.
It was Mr. Leeds, seconded.
Okay.
Debbie
Thank you.
first. Motion. Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried.
That's a little
This
weird.
thing's a little weird.
That's a little. All right, we're gonna move on to 1.5 is roll call.
We're going to move on. Moving on to section 2. Is there anything else? Nope, that's it. All right. Moving on to section 2, discussion and comments from the board, starting with 2.1 legislative. Mr. Leeds.
This is the last week for the budget. The budget's supposed to be into the governor by the 30th, but in talking to Representative Hall, there are 830-some issues with the budget between the Senate, the House, and the governor. So it looks like the budget will not go to the governor for signature, and they'll have to go on a temporary basis, which means that they have to, in order to keep the state funded, they have to vote on refunding every 10 days until this thing is settled. But I will tell you this, the House is backing public education to the fullest. And, but the Senate is not, and of course the governor wants ed choice all the way. But I did talk to, I talked to, again, Thomas Hall, and I asked him to please keep things in mind to where if we only get, say we only get $3,500 per student out of the foundation, if the student leaves and goes someplace else, they only take $3,500 from us and they get the rest of it from the state, because if we're going to get hit with 9,100 and they only give us 30-some hundred, then that takes it down pretty quick. But I asked him if he could keep an eye on that, because if this thing passes without making sure that we're not hit that way, we'll be 10 years trying to get it corrected.
Yeah.
And that's no good. So that's all I have at this time, except the third grade reading is back and forth. Whether or not they're going to, now they're saying that, if they don't pass it, they don't move to next year. So, but I don't believe that myself. And neither does a lot of other people. It's just, we're getting impressed.
That's the way it is currently.
Yeah, so, but that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. 2.2, Butler Tech, Mr. Guido.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President, Madam Vice President, members of the board. I wanted to just let you know I did attend graduation here at Monroe. You guys did a fantastic job. Tom, great job. So I don't think I've been here since that. He's not paying attention.
Good job, Tim.
Good job, Tom. I think he also came to Butler Tech's graduation, so thank him. I don't know if anybody else attended because it was crazy other than Debbie.
Sure.
I think you were there.
Yes. It was very good.
was a little longer than expected, but with that many kids graduating, it's quite an event. So they used to do that separately and have the different programs have different graduations, and it was scattered. It just didn't have that connection. So I think that was a good call that they brought it all under one roof and did it on one night. So it was a good event. I wanted to mention that we had a Project Life, which is our program for special needs. They had an alumni party over there at the Natural Science Center, and invited some students who had went through that program just to get together and do that. So it was kind of an informal dance sort of thing. But I want to let you know that that property is being used, as much as we can. So if you guys ever have a need, reach out to the district, and I'm sure that they would accommodate that. So that was a neat event. Work-wise, I mean, it's been kind of slow, obviously. It's the, summer break and everything, but we're in the hiring process and preparing for the school year to start really in a couple months. So very busy on that side. There's just not a lot of student activity, obviously, going on right now. District-wide, we continue to work on the Panem LEAP program, which is the Miami University Advanced Manufacturing Program, and then the expansion of the aviation at Hookfield. If you can imagine, with all the agencies involved, it's pretty intricate what they're trying to do, but I think we're finally at the stage with Miami University of signing the lease agreement for the property. So really looking to get that moving forward as well. And the Hookfield is about in the same process. So both of those expansions are going to expand programming options for students, which is the main goal of all that. We're currently in the process of lobbying for additional funding from the governor's office for an expansion of the Bioscience Center. The Bioscience Center is the red building off of I-75. We are working on a partnership with another university that I don't think I can speak about yet right now, but it is potentially going to expand the footprint of the building more than double the space that's there. So the goal of that is to have a seamless transition for high school students. Many kids in that program left with their associate degree, but it's an expansion directly into a bachelor's degree program in several of those programs. So looking to, have them take advantage of everything, really do everything on one campus. So hopefully more to come on that, but that's probably another big project that are hoping to bring forward. And again, the goal is just to offer more space and more opportunities for those students. So we'll continue to push like we've been saying, I think, every time I come up here, and we'll keep moving forward. That's all I have to report. Do you guys have any questions?
Brett, you going to have room for additional students this year, or about the same?
It's about the same. Now, they did do some expanded classrooms where they did a blended learning at the adult ed facility. So they expanded, I think, 1 or 2 welding programs, and also added a senior-only EMT program. So kids that maybe did not get in their junior year or didn't even apply, didn't want to do anything, and said, now what am I going to do my senior year, And so they've expanded to some of that. So we're looking to do more of that. Just like this building, the building sits vacant in the evening. At least the classrooms do, the building doesn't. It's probably used more than any building in Butler County. But so, hopefully, I think you'll see more of that. I think Credit Plus proved that high school kids can just learn differently than we did. So we're hopeful that the state will allow some sort of maybe evening classes for kids to learn career tech, some of those skills that they're doing. So, but that gets some kickback from maybe some of the universities and stuff like that. So we're really just trying to blow it up a little bit and push the envelope, all in the need to get these kids certifications that they need. We're continue to prove that, college degree is not the only pathway the kids learn by. And your daughter could probably testify to that and do that. So, yeah, I mean, more to come on that. I think that we're just looking for any way to stop turning down students that are interested in programming.
Good.
I would like to say, though, going back to graduation, the Butler Tech's graduation ceremony was a really good ceremony. And you said it was pretty long. I didn't think it was that long.
Oh.
But with having, knowing the seniors, a lot of the Monroe seniors that were graduating, so it wasn't just my children that was graduating, I knew a lot of the other students that, it was fun to watch them all graduate from Butler Tech and then watch them to graduate from Monroe. It was a good experience.
Thank you. It was a long time to stand up there and shake
Yes.
hands.
Yes, the ceremony itself, I think, was like 2 hours, so, and it was a lot of shaking hands, but it was a good ceremony.
Thank you. As you guys would agree, that is my favorite day of the year. So
Yeah.
I'll stand up there as long as it takes.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, I just wanted to say along the same lines with the graduation ceremony, I wasn't able to go this year, but I did go last year. It's a great ceremony, and we had the discussion about making sure that those kids that are in Butler Tech feel welcome here, and I think we have a really high percentage that go through both ceremonies, and I don't think that is the case at every district. So I'll continue to work with John, Brett, whoever, to make sure those kids know that they're still Monroe kids, and we want them in both places. So.
It's, I'm happy for every kid that graduates at those ceremonies, but when a blue and gold robe comes up, I give them an extra fist bump. So I'm very proud of that. So I did want to I haven't said this, but thank you for allowing them to continue to run the district, not being in the newspaper on a weekly basis, and really understanding your role as board members. It's not easy to do, and thank you for your continued service to the district.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
We'll just build Butler Tech.
New sound system.
Item 2.3, finance.
Yeah, we had a finance meeting prior to this meeting, and just reviewed our current bonds and debts. Holly gave a really nice overview. For me specifically, being new to the finance committee this year and new to the board, these are things that are very important to me to learn and make sure I've got a good grasp on. So I asked a lot of the entry-level questions, and Tom, with his experience, it's great to have really open dialogue on where our money is for each of our buildings and our facilities and the things that we're planning for our next facility, and looking at how our financials line up. So everything seems to be in line as we would expect, and just continue to learn for me and provide you guys. I'll give you more of a recap, or Holly maybe more of a recap of that meeting. But just went over some general stuff that we've talked about in the past, a little bit more in depth maybe for me.
All right. We did find out that everything's where it needs to be in the bond fund for Brett, so.
Very good. Very good. All right, thank you. Moving on to 2.4.
Student achievement. Well, all the students are out enjoying the summer break, so there really isn't any student achievement at this time.
Very good. 2.5, MEA. Anyone from MEA?
Yeah, we're all good. I was just bored tonight, so I thought I'd show up.
You know what? We appreciate it,
Actually, I
Mike.
was going to question all these 3-year extensions for the admin, but I mean, we'll do that another time.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
All right.
Get forgetting on the open floor there.
Yeah.
We will move on to section 3. Don't see any recognitions, no recognitions or comments from the public. So we'll move on to section 3 item 3.3, superintendent's update.
Thanks, Mr. Grant. It is June, and so we are well underway with a lot of our summer projects. The elementary gym floor is close to being refinished. That was one of the projects. Luckily, they were able to get it done over the summer. Remember, we had the delay with the main gym last year. As you drove in, I'm sure you saw the new pavement on the front parking lot and bus lot. Obviously, we didn't do the whole thing. The reason for that, if people ask, are if we, some down the road, if we have construction, if we end up doing a school, you know, on that side of the building over there, we don't want to redo it again in a few years. That is part of the ALP, so that will be co-fundable. We'll get refunded for a portion of that, and they would not refund it to redo it if we had to tear it up for construction, so. Let's see, custodians are very much at work getting knocking out the rooms to make sure everything's clean and ready to go for next year. The storage containers were delivered. You probably did not even see them. They fit very nicely under the stadium, so it's great. Eric was very excited for storage for athletics, and they are not painted, and I talked to Jesse today. I said, I don't think we should paint them. They blend right in, you can't even tell they're there. And I think if we painted them blue, they would stick out
They would
more.
stand
So
out.
Yeah.
if you have a chance, go out there and look, and if you guys disagree with me, we can talk, but I think you'd probably agree that you can't even tell they're under there.
What was the estimate on that painting? Was it like 10 grand or something?
No, Jesse was gonna get it done for the painting of the,
Yeah, we elected not to have the vendor do it. Our normal guy who does normal paint around the building was going to achieve it.
Oh, okay.
So we decided not to have the vendor do it, and we're going to have our local guy do it. A third of the price.
Oh.
yeah, but right now, we're kinda holding off to make
Okay.
sure, I don't think we need it, so.
Are
I'll
those-
take a look at it when we leave.
Yeah,
Yeah, are those behind the visitor?
they're underneath the visitors'
Underneath the
bleachers.
vis- okay.
You can't, unless you are over at the,
Baseball field?
that second concession stand, you
Yeah.
can't even tell they're there.
Okay.
Oh, really? Okay.
And we don't care what the visitors look at, so.
If you look on the agenda, there's some paint guns we're gonna buy, I think.
Well, we're having some other paint down here, so. Let's see, I'm having trouble reading my own handwriting. The budget, the one thing I did want to add on to that, catching up from being out of town last week, some of the emails, I agree with Tom that it's not going to get done. They've already passed the temporary budget, or written the temporary budget in anticipation that it will not get to the governor's desk by June 30th. But I did later, as I was going through, I got an email this morning that there was a lot of progress made over the weekend, but they're still not close, so we'll see. A lot of things could change. The two things that really affect us, Huffman, who's the chairman of the education, is not backing down on the Department of Education workforce. And the Cup-Patterson bill is still in play, which is great for us, but then the vouchers are still being heavily funded, so we'll see how that goes. I don't think those three things are going to change much, but there's a lot of other things that, who knows? It's like the wild, wide west up there right now, I
Yeah.
think, especially in the House. I think it's kind of a disaster, so we'll see. And other than that, that's all I have at this point. It was nice to get away last week and unplug and relax with my family, and I was sharing my 82-year-old dad went with us to the beach, so my girls enjoyed that, and that was a nice get.
That's good.
I almost got through my 543 emails that I had this morning, so not quite. But. Anybody have any questions?
Any questions?
I do have one question. If on the voucher program, I believe we would be in receiving of people that want to come to this district.
It is for the vouchers or for leaving and going to charter schools.
Charter schools, and other schools, but there's also a program that they're looking at for, it's like open enrollment.
It was for, that was through the athletics, Eric, and that did not pass, correct? That if I live in Monroe and I want to play lacrosse and we don't offer lacrosse, I can still be a student of Monroe and go play lacrosse at Lakota, and that did not pass, correct? Yes.
Okay,
Good.
Yeah.
I didn't know it didn't pass. Okay, good.
That's actually probably a good thing.
It is a good thing.
That could be a nightmare.
Yes, it
That
could
would
be.
be an athletic director's nightmare.
Yeah.
Grades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
All right. All right. Thank you, Mr. Busker. Yep. All right, moving on to section 4, treasurer's business. Mrs. Cahall.
I'm asking the board to approve the minutes from May 22nd, 23, and the special meeting on May 8th.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham. Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant.
Aye. Motion carried. Item 4.2.
I'm asking the board to approve the bond fund report as of May 31st, 2023, and all the money is where it should be.
Okay. May I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham. Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Any questions about the bond fund? Okay. Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant.
Aye. Motion carried. Item 4.3.
And now I'm asking the board to approve final appropriations for fiscal year '23. This is our final budget that we will submit to the County Budget Commission, and it's required by Ohio state law. And it's I don't know what else to say. We do not exceed our budget, let me just say that.
Okay. All right. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Any questions? Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant.
Aye. Motion carried. Item 4.4.
Next, I'm asking your approval for the final amended certificate of estimated resources for fiscal year '23, and we will submit this to the Butler County Budget Commission.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham. Any questions?
And this is something the state auditor looks at quite closely and will cite you if you show that your appropriations exceed your estimated resources. So,
Okay.
but we are all good.
Okay. I figured we would be, Holly. All right, any questions? All right. Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant.
Aye. Motion carried. Item 4.5.
And finally, I'm asking the board to approve temporary appropriations for fiscal year '24. We can't spend one dime on July 1st until this is approved. So, and this is just temporary because the permanent appropriations, the permanent budget will be approved in September.
Okay. So this basically takes us through September to allow us to spend money until it's approved
Exactly.
in September. Okay. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham. Any questions?
We better hurry up and just do them.
Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you, Mrs. Cahall. Moving on to Section 5, Superintendent's Personnel Business.
I'd like to recommend a block, section 5.1 through 5.8, and then I can go through and explain it and answer any questions.
Okay, we have a motion to block 5.1 to 5.8.
So moved.
Second. Oh.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds. Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. I was still writing. You're good. All right. Mrs. Cahall?
Okay. Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant.
Aye. Motion carried. All right.
All right. 5.1 is just resignations, and we did have a couple of teachers surprise us last week. When I get a text message on the beach from Jesse, it's never good news. So. Then 5.2 is hiring. This is, we've been busy filling our openings, and we've got some of our new teachers here tonight. I'm excited about that. Administrator contracts are on there. We decided to keep them all. I did want to point out, there is one of that sticks out. It's not a 3-year. It has nothing to do with performance. It's just longevity. finishing her first year. She was worried that people were going to think that something was wrong. I said I would make sure that I pointed that out to there, so. July workday transitions, that again is, I think Holly explained that earlier, that is with her moving salary schedules, we need that month overlap, not overlap, the opposite of, the gap to make sure
Yes.
that we have her under contract during July. Then we have a lot of extracurricular contracts for clubs throughout the year and different positions, a couple coaching positions, new head basketball coach, and one certain person salary increase due to some schooling. And then there was a couple corrections for, from the previous agenda for salaries on coaches, and then the second reading, so the approval of that job description.
Okay. And that's for the attendance officer and residency specialist?
Correct.
So you just-
Any questions?
So I'd like to say, sad to see those that resigned. Glad to see everybody that's being hired and extending the contracts, all good things.
Yes.
Any other questions, comments?
Good job.
Okay. We will, we'll take the motion to approve everything, and then we'll, I got the pens.
All right.
We're ready. All right. Well, wait, may I have a motion to approve, wait, do we need to take a motion to, we already did the motion. Never mind,
We'll
Mrs.
approve 5.1
Oh.
to, y'all are going.
Yes, to approve 5.1 to 5.8.
Yeah.
Yes. May I have a motion to approve 5.1 to 5.8?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Abstain.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. All right, so whoever's in attendance. Congratulations. You're official now. Congratulations. Welcome aboard. Congratulations. You get everybody. Congratulations. You already got this?
One, two, three, cheese.
Congratulations.
You guys are welcome to leave. It will not reflect on you if you leave early. Enjoy your evening.
I think you should.
We could probably make that happen. All right. Moving on to Section 6, Superintendent's Other Business.
I recommend to block 6.1 to 6.9.
Oh,
Okay, may I have a motion to block 6.1 to 6.9?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. I'm used to him sitting
I
down.
know, I get it. It happens.
I hear it close, and that's what I do.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds. Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye, motion carried.
All right, 6.1, donations. believe the soccer team had a fundraiser, and all our local businesses are so good about supporting all our clubs and athletics. The next one, 6.2, is the annual contract with SWOCA. That was, if you read through there, it was a 1% increase from this past year. There's a contract with Butler County ESC for Union Day. And then there is a resolution for urgency, the pump house controller and switch. And what that is the little pump house back there. Long story short, it's out and we need to replace it. They've done every Band-Aid they could. It's actually not even reading the correct pressure. We met with the fire department. They said, you're fine, your sprinklers, everything work. But hopefully we get it all up and running prior to school. Even if it's not installed before school, they said we're fine, everything works, but the gauges are not reading correctly, so. And they don't even, the pieces to replace it, they don't even make, it's obsolete, so.
Are those original? Or
Yeah, the pump house was 2004.
Yep.
There have been some swaps of parts and pieces, but that controller is really
And 6.5 is one of our contract for the ESC with Success Liaison. That's one of the social workers who are phenomenal. That is grant funded. Then the total services with the ESC, there was an attachment there with all those listed. They are very good partners with us. The food service agreement with Sodexo. And then the final, or 6.8, is the agreement to work with MCS. That is the company I sent out to you guys. It was before I left. They are going to kind of work as an owner's agent and really help navigate us through the whole process of any minor construction projects between now and building, and navigate all the nuances of OFCC, because we do not want any more surprises popping up with that. I'm excited about that one. And then the final is the necessity to purchase, and that's the approved, I can't speak tonight, approve the resolution of necessity to purchase the wall product. That's the board office, correct? Yeah, so I shared with you that we're having to add some more offices in those temporary wall, they're not temporary, but I don't know what they're called.
demountable walls.
Demountable walls, yeah, they're adding some office space there, and we're doing a few other renovations over there with carpeting and moving some stuff out to the bus garage, so. But this is just for the walls.
Okay.
Any questions about any of those?
I only have one question.
Yep.
On 6.9 and 6.4, the urgent necessity to purchase the pump house controller walls, is that permanent improvement fund, or is that general?
We haven't done the POs yet.
I would imagine they're out of a PI fund.
We can decide, we can make that decision and
Yeah.
it come out, we haven't gotten that far yet.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
I was just curious if it was going to come out of the permanent improvement fund.
Well, we have to talk about it. you
Okay.
know. Good
All right.
point.
Okay. And then the only other comment I have is in regards to the Sodexo, 20% increase. I mean, obviously, there's nothing we can, 20% increase in the labor cost.
Oh, food service?
Yes.
Yeah, but they have such a big balance, I almost just didn't care. I would say that. I mean, they're very self-sufficient, and I don't know what Sodexo's, what that 20% really all covers. I mean, I know it covers Becky, but, and
We
other.
have the labor increase because we bargained at 85 cents an hour for our classified staff. So there is a labor increase for the workers that gets factored into how they.
Oh, that gets factored into that
Yes.
formula.
Yeah.
Okay, that
But
makes sense.
There's still a guarantee in that.
Yeah.
We are shorting them this year with 2 student days.
Okay.
With some things we've got scheduled. And so there's a lot of nuance that goes into how they finally split the baby to say, what's our final total? But we have to go out and make sure this is the final year in the 5-year process that we have to run for a full proposal next year.
Okay.
The cafeteria fund is supposed to kind of
It's
break
like-
even, but,
Well-
you know, I mean, you don't want, it's not there to
It
make
can't
money.
right now, but it's made a lot of money.
Because of over the last few years with all the COVID, so.
So it's just going to, it didn't worry me. It might have worried me had we not had COVID.
I got you.
But
Okay.
now it's
So with
pretty
the,
flush.
with the excess money that we had during COVID, it absorbs the 20%
Oh,
increase?
absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
More than absorbs.
That's really what I wanted to hear, is that we're okay.
Yeah, I should have explained it.
Okay, we're good. Any other questions, comments? Okay? All right. May I have a motion to approve items 6.1 to 6.9?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. All right, Mrs. Kayal, please call the roll.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye, motion carried. All right. Before we, thank you, Mr. Busker. You're welcome. Before we move on to section 7.1 and adjourn to executive session, we'll have comments from the board. We'll start with Mr. Leeds.
Well, I'm looking forward to the fall sports, because I think we're gonna be good. And since we got most of our coaches under contract, we'll be okay. Other than that, enjoy the rest of the summer, guys. It's gonna go fast.
I know.
Yep. Mr. Fulham.
It's the summer edition of High Five from Around the Hive. All right, high five to our entire staff for all that was accomplished during the 2023-24 school year. It was an extremely successful school year full of tremendous individual and team accolades to which you all played a significant role. You are the reason why Monroe is the best in the area. I hope you enjoy your summers, and I look forward to seeing everyone in the fall. High five to Charlotte Austin, Tom Burklow, Carol Kelly, and Phil Scheit on your recent retirements. With 130 years of collective service, I want to thank each of you for all that you have done for our district and our students. I wish you the very best as you turn the page onto the next chapter. And high five to Holly Cahall, who recently announced her retirement. It's been a pleasure getting to work with you the past couple of years. Your positive impact on the district is appreciated, and our financial health is better because of your committed work. We've got a few more months of work to do, but I'm thrilled that you're getting the opportunity to move into retirement at the end of the year. That's it.
All right, thank you. That was the summer version.
Summer version.
All right. Mr. Carpenter.
Not much. I hope everyone's enjoying their summer. Last month, I talked about a few of our fifth graders that were heading up to Bowling Green, and all three of them were chosen to go play for Ohio's soccer team. So I think it was not this past weekend, but the weekend before that, they all went out to St. Louis. They represented Ohio. So we had two girls and one boy from the grade. They all went out and they had a great time. Beautiful complex, and they gave it their all. It was a good showing for Monroe. So happy for them. Look forward to Monroe soccer over the next couple of years. I think we're going to have a really good batch of kids come through, and it'll be exciting. So
Good.
cool. That's it.
Good.
Mrs. Hagedorn.
I'd like to say that this summer's been fun. It's been fun, the color guards practicing on Mondays and Wednesdays, so it's interesting to come up to the school for practice and to see the tennis practicing, soccer practicing, football workouts, like all the different sports that are just doing workouts and keeping the kids engaged and being active this summer. I didn't realize how much activity occurred during the summers until you're actually up here and you're seeing what's going on. So it's kind of fun just to see that the kids are actually being engaged and still coming to the school property and getting together with their teammates and their coaches and doing the workouts.
Yep.
So, yeah, this fall's going to be a good time.
Yeah, I saw a poster. The girls' soccer team was up at Tiffin for their camp. That looked like a good camp for them.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Where'd you go, Tim?
Tiffin
Tiffin? Oh, okay.
I've heard some great things from Tiffin. I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah, there's a couple good things from Tiffin. All right, is that it?
That's it.
All right, I will be brief. Look, 6:40. Admin, look, 6:40.
6:39.
So, no, I hope you guys enjoy your summer. That's going to be short and sweet. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and I'm looking forward to seeing you back in full action in the fall. Other than that, that's it.
I had one quick thing, if I could.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, I appreciate you guys approving the administrator contracts. I've been here 2 years. It is we're a great team. Of course, we're not perfect, but that is a cohesive, top to bottom, best administrative team I've ever worked with in almost 30 years in education. I appreciate how hard they work, what they do for kids every day, what they do for teachers. So I'm proud to work with them every day, and I appreciate you guys having confidence in them to continue, so.
I'll just make one more comment to go to 6:42, but I will say, I'll echo that when we're at other board functions and boards and our admin team's brought up, I am not shy to say that we have the best admin team, not just in Butler County, but the state. I would put our admin team against any district in the state, so thank you for all your hard work. It doesn't go unnoticed, so.
It's good,
Okay?
good stuff.
All right, with that said, we will move on to section 7.1. Motion to adjourn to executive session. It is recommended that the board adjourn to executive session to consider the employment or compensation of a public employee, revised code 121.22 G4, and to discuss a confidential matter permitted under the statutory confidentiality exception, revised code 121.22 G5. And no action will be taken. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds. Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye, motion carried. Thank you, everyone.
Have a good night.
I didn't want to do that. Do this first. Sign out now. I will put these away.